that if I put some blacktop on my land and all the water starts running off just kind of down the slope and onto your property, hey, that's your problem because your water's the common enemy. Now, this doesn't take into account environmental regulation. This doesn't take into account other kinds of zoning or codes, etc. This just takes into account the general common law. But nonetheless, because water's the common enemy, you've got to show that the township has done something negligently to artificially channel the water or artificially concentrate the water onto your land. And so if we could show that they built a big pipe and it's discharging a certain way, which is causing all these problems, then that's the easy one. Otherwise, it might just be a political solution, which is to get everybody together and just get to all the township meetings and start saying, we need an answer, we need an answer, we need this done, because otherwise we're going to vote Liz for township supervisor.
Yeah. And we've had some pressure because, my neighbor is a lot more active about it because he has no kids and he's older.
He's got nothing to do, is what you mean.
He's gotten, people to the meetings, and he's had a lawyer talking to them, but it doesn't, they just don't seem to care. They give us a good answer, and then they do nothing.
Right.
Basically what we're seeing anyway, and then they've kind of stopped answering us. I've sent a couple more emails and no answer, and we've left messages and no answer. They don't want to talk to us about it anymore.
Well, and that's the other question is depends on how much money you want to spend, but I have been hired before to go to township meetings with folks simply to help them, quote, address the township, end quote. Hey, they're here, they have a lawyer, here's what they want to know about, and they're going to have me follow up and see what you guys are doing, but that costs money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, that was one of the very first cases I was involved in, Shane. Involved a township and a farmer and water and a lot of rain. And it's weird because, we've had all this rain this year, right? Well, the one that I was involved in up in Crawford County years ago, they had historically high amounts of rain in a 1 or 2 week period where just water was just inundating the area. And PEMA was out there writing their low-interest loans and everything, and that's when all these issues come to light because most of the designs and problems with the flooding and the water and the channeling, when it's the normal water flows, don't come to bear. But when the 100-year flood is on, like it is in the Mississippi, all of a sudden we're opening levees we never opened before, and we're flooding areas that have never seen flooding before. And that's exactly what's happening, of course, right now in central Pennsylvania because we've had a very, very wet couple months with record set, in April. And now we're supposed to get rain the rest of this week. Now the water table, the water drains well around here, but the water table's very high. So I expect to hear more water-related problems coming in the law office here. All right, guys, I got to go to break. I'll see you in a minute. 540-0580. Oh, yes. I love this song. I think sometimes we got to get All My Rowdy Friends Have Settled Down by Hank Williams Jr., though. That's how I feel sometimes, when I try to rouse the boys to go out drinking, and they're like, oh, I got to go home, I got to do this. You got to go take care of your kid. Oh, boy. All right. I'm my only rowdy friend I have anymore. At least I'm my own best friend.
You're the only friend.
Ann, you're on WHP 580. What's going on?
Did you say Ann?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because I've been waiting for it's my turn. First, I wanted to say hello and to tell you I think it's wonderful that your station offers a program like you have there going for the people. It's just absolutely, really wonderful.
I give R.J. Harris all the credit for coming up with the idea.
Oh, I listen to R.J. Harris every day. But he's terrific, too, the whole staff. Well, I have really two questions. Number one, I'm parents of a daughter who is going through very, very difficult times. She's a single parent, and I think her house is going into foreclosure. So my first question is, when that process starts, how long is a person allowed to stay in their home while the process is, going through and being worked on?
Well, the short answer is I've held up foreclosures for as long as a year and a half or 2 years, although we would never say we held it up. Obviously we're just asserting all of our legal rights in court because just like a regular lawsuit, a foreclosure requires them to prove things, and it goes through all the normal stages. Now, you have to have meritorious defenses, but here's what's happening. And you ever hear that? You ever hear the term puppy mill? The idea that they have a mill where they just have a million puppies, they're churning them out, and they're all sickly and low quality.
No.
Well, that's a term of here's the idea. There's all these foreclosures are, and I just read a thing from Paul Chase a minute ago about the record number of foreclosures going on out there. They're all being done very sloppily, and they had these things called robo-signers most recently heard about, where nobody really knew whether everything was checked or not.
Yes, yeah.
We're finding that a lot of the foreclosures, if you just read them over, there's obvious errors in the pleadings, for instance.
Okay.
So the first thing I can do is assert a objection saying, hey, this wasn't signed by the right person, or this doesn't have all the right information in it, or you claim that you sent an act blah, blah, blah letter, but I don't see the actual date or the letter attached. And that alone can tie up the foreclosure for months. So even if you haven't paid your bills, have no great excuse, the other side, you're still entitled to have the lawsuit filed properly. And that alone slows things down rapidly. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody into frivolous litigation, because here's the downside to that.
Right.
The other side then incurs more attorney's fees, which potentially become part of any judgment against you, may eat up equity you have in the property, et cetera. So in any given case, what we're going to do and how we're going to handle it's very different. I had another client. We stalled her foreclosure only because we were trying to get part of the loan modification agreement with Bank of America, and it takes them so long to process the paperwork that Bank of America was going to foreclose on her before the other half of Bank of America approved her for the program.
Gosh. So she wouldn't be put out like in a month's time.
No. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can be looking at months and months, and frankly, want to slow it down. Sometimes we can even enter into agreements.
Oh, okay. Well, now that's comforting to know, because, it's a very difficult time for her. I feel so sad. She's got, one daughter, so on. But, that's comforting to know that, they wouldn't be put out like overnight.
No, absolutely not. And it's funny. I get people. I had somebody come and see me the other day. They got the act letter that says, we're going to be sending you a foreclosure. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to move. And I'm like, they haven't even filed the foreclosure yet.
When you get something like that, yes. I'm sure,
And it's from our standpoint as a lawyer, since we know how long it really takes, we're like, no, you're fine. But from their standpoint, not having ever had anything like that happen to them. And remember, a lot of people are getting foreclosed on right now are just good people who never had a legal problem in their life. They just don't have any money.
Right. Well, that's what's happening here. So, and the second thing that I wanted to comment on is right now it has a court case going on because of her little job and everything. But I wanted to just point out this: why can't attorneys, not all attorneys I know will be like this, but why can't they, when they look at the bigger picture of where clients coming from, like their background with hard times and money problems and so on and so forth, and know how, why aren't they more I hate to use the word kinder, but more encouraging, just getting back to a client because they know that a client is sick with worry and wondering how things are going.
Well,
why can't they take that valuable time just to give a quick phone call or have a secretary call?
The short answer, and I'll to defend my colleagues and maybe myself once in a while, we're always putting out fires, meaning we're dealing with whatever the momentary crisis or deadline is. Yeah. But you're right, and that's I actually said this at a lawyer meeting the other night. I said there was a group of us and they were talking about there was a reference that this lawyer had not returned some client's phone call in 6 months, and it was an ethical problem, And somebody said, was there an ethical issue there? And I said, I don't know if there's an ethical issue. I don't even need to address that. I can tell you that when I was growing up and I told the guys I hung out with that I was going to go to law school, and they were a little older than me and had some rental apartments and had used lawyers over the years. They said, if you want to be the greatest lawyer in the world, all you have to do is return your phone calls.
Oh, that makes sense. But even if you don't return them all the time and you're wondering how the case is going or what's happening or what went on, just have your secretary call the client then.
And that's where, with modern communication, with emails, for instance, in my office, when a document comes in, we email it to you. When a document goes out, we email it to you. And we answer quick email. In other words, we've been able to use technology to really better communicate with the clients. I originally started emailing things to people to save the postage because I'm such a cheapskate. And then I discovered that people were really happy. They're like, wow, this is great. I get it the same day you guys get it.
Well, it's that idea of connecting and just reassuring your client, okay, we're working on this, is happening, or don't worry, but nothing. I mean, this one person, it's just as sad to see.
And part of the problem, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but part of the problem is there's a lot of people in my profession whose people skills are a little challenged. And that's the same of any profession. But in order to be a lawyer, in order to get through law school, you don't have to have a good bedside manner, and you don't have to be kind, and you don't have to be polite, and you don't even have to be sympathetic. In fact, sometimes those traits might not always be desirable in a particular lawyer in a particular case. But I agree with you, and I spend a lot of time telling clients why we're doing what we're doing. And I said, I hope I'm not boring you, but I want you to understand that, here's why we do it the way we do it. And I think people appreciate that.
Well, I just think the connection to reassure a client and not being like they're left out in the dark about, what's going on, just a little phone call, like, don't worry, we're working on this, or something happened or whatever.
Yeah, and I got to let you go, but I'll...
the whole time through a case and you don't get that kind of feedback.
Go watch, I'm pretty sure is it Franz Kafka's The Trial? Is it The Trial? I'm pretty sure it's The Trial. And if you go get the movie, it's an old Orson Welles movie.
I like Orson Welles movies, yeah.
Okay, watch that movie. I always tell people, because you'll appreciate this. I always tell young lawyers, you got to watch that movie to understand how clients feel, because it's about a guy named Kay who's stuck in a legal system with no answers. And if you watch it, you'll appreciate why I tell young lawyers you've got to watch that, because that's how your client feels. And even though you're trying to explain things to them, so it's The Trial, Franz Kafka, old Orson Welles movie. Watch it.
So helpful if these lawyers would just,
I know. I got to let you go because I got to take 2 more callers in 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Let's see. Ann, you're on the air.
Ann?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, my daughter is my power of attorney, and she's going into bankruptcy.
Okay.
And she will get my whole estate. She and my grandkids. Now, since she's going to be in bankruptcy, will they be able to take her inheritance if I die, while she's still in bankruptcy?
The short answer is potentially yes.
They will.
Potentially. The long answer is no if you do it right. Come see me, okay?
I better come see you then because I'm really worried.
Yep, come see me. I'll fix it.
Thank you so much, Carl.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Carol, I'll have to take you next week.
Okay.
All right, call me next week. All right, guys. Go to weekendappointment.com. Sign up for your free will. Go to RomingerLaw.com. Check out our new law firm website. We're in Lancaster, Chambersburg, Harrisburg, Carlisle, York, wherever you need us to be. We got 10 locations we can meet with you now. Contact me off the air to learn more about that. All right, guys. See you next week.